welcome to another episode of Calling Old Hollywood. I'm your host, Kat Lively, and joining us this week, Larry Hankin. Hello.
Hello, Kat. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Just fine, just sequestered in place and
Yes. How's the
trying to go out every once in a while.
How's the pandemic treating you?
Well, so far it's been staying away from me, so I don't
Good.
have nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with me,
Mm-hmm.
but it's on everybody's mind. I mean, it's all over the place. I mean, the discussion of and the mental, challenge. But
Right.
I live near the beach, so I guess it's in my face all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's the beach. I live about 4 very, very, very short blocks from the beach.
Yeah.
And so on Saturdays and Sundays, everybody goes to the beach because it's outside, it's outdoors. But so they're not wearing, all they're wearing is a bathing suit.
Right.
No clothes, no shoes, and no masks. And then they're all over the street and standing, the bars are standing outside and people are eating on the sidewalks and tables. So nobody's wearing a mask. So it's just not a good place to be if you have gray hair.
It's all good. Or
challenging.
Just walking around in Hollywood, everywhere, when people aren't wearing masks, because I'm always, I have to bite my tongue, and not say, hey, put your mask on. It's, I've been very...
Oh, yeah, I did that for a while.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a fool's errand is what it is. Nobody listens to you, and then they give you guff back.
Right.
And then, or they'll take it, somebody will take it off and just, it's my right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand there's a lot of things I don't understand. That's just one.
Yeah.
Thousands.
Of the more recent, same page.
Yes.
Same page.
Yeah.
Well,
the problem is Homo sapiens.
Very, very eccentric species. Very complex, eccentric species. Man, let's talk a little bit about you and your career, your life.
This is about me.
Yes.
Let's talk about me.
Yeah, absoltly. So everything. You're an actor. You've directed. You do art. Those paintings in the background are yours. Incredible. What haven't you done in your life? How did you get?
What haven't I done?
Yeah.
Very, very normal things.
Yeah.
I don't know. I figure that's another thing I can't figure out. The Norman Rockwellism of America
Yeah.
is just blowing my mind. A lot of stuff is meaningless to me. So, I make my paintings. There's my paintings. There's my paintings. I just do a lot of. What haven't I done? I've been threatened. I've been a stand-up comedian, a producer. I make films. But I only see here's the downside. That sounds really great. I'm very impressed when I say it or you say it or somebody says it. But the downside or the other side of it, it's not downside. But I don't stick with anything very long. I get bored very fast. So I paint for about a year and then that's it. And then it's over. And then I just put them up. But or I make films and then I don't make another one for another year. Or film shorts.
Yeah.
Or I write a screenplay and then I don't write another one for 2 or 3 years. I like to do, I'm interested, I'm curious in how something is done for the first time.
Yes.
I guess I'm trying to see why I do things. But yeah, I want to say, well, what would be like to make a movie? So I made Sally's Diner. Yeah. Which I got an Academy Award nomination for. The only driving emotion behind that was curiosity. What would it be like? I made a character. I'm still working on a character named. He's a homeless guy. There's sometimes Jones, and now he's grown because he's got gray hair. I changed his name to Emmett Davis, but it's just the homeless 30-year-old grew up. To my age, and so now his name is Emmett Davis. But so I did the Sally's Diner with sometimes Jones. I was about 30 when I did it, and I just wanted to see what a character that I sometimes did on stage in Second City in the committee on stage in front of 500, 1,000 people or
Right.
whatever. I want to see what the translation was between stage and movie. So if I did this on stage, what would I have to do different
Mm-hmm.
to make it? Because I know you have to take it down. I mean, the camera reads everything, so
Right.
it was a learning lesson for me. That was all. And then people, very professional people, start to get involved. I guess curious, yeah, hey, it's a good script. Yeah, hey, we like your acting, so can we be part of it? So I got a really incredible cinematographer. That was the key.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
And so we got an Academy Award nomination, but I didn't even want to hand it in. I mean, that was the furthest thing from my mind. I thought you had to be a pro, and connected and all those things. But no, I mean, back then, this was, when was it? 70, wow, when was it? 80, 79, 80.
Mm-hmm.
We made it in 79 and it got in 80. So back then it was very easy. Now it's, I think it's almost impossible unless you have a huge amount of cash. We had nothing. We had nothing. We were off the street and we made this movie, and thank God a really cool cinematographer liked me and liked the script. So we had nothing, and we just entered just like anybody would, and we got in. But now you have to have a ton of money and some kind of connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'll tell you why, just really quickly, I'll tell you why. To qualify to get in, which has nothing to do with the quality of your film or even your film, you have to have it shown for 3 days in an LA County paid for movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's so many people nowadays who want to get into the Academy that they book these theaters for 3 days. Now, you don't have to book the whole theater for the whole day. You just book it for a 10-minute film short.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll put it before the feature. But even if they show the feature maybe 3 times or 4 times a day, that means there's only one film short that's going to, or 4 film shorts that can be put in front of one, and they'd show them for 3 days. Yeah. But nowadays, all the movies, and even back then, all the movies were taken. I mean, just everybody had a movie in front of a feature. And every movie in LA County, so we couldn't get in. And somebody had a brilliant idea. I think it was the cinematographer, because tenacity is a key to this game.
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Absolutely.
Anything. Tenacity. And he was way more tenacious than I was. Mm-hmm. And he booked a pornographic movie.
Yeah.
a theater and feature.
That's great.
And so we were the opening film short for a pornographic movie. Now, they don't make any announcement. I mean, I saw a couple of other film shorts in other movie theaters just to see how it worked, what they were doing. Mm-hmm. There's just, a film short comes on and then the feature comes on. It's no big deal. Just like it was like the old days when you did have film short and then a feature.
Right.
So all these, we go in, and I had a girlfriend at the time who I wanted to impress with this movie that I just made. Mm-hmm. So I invited her, and she was, what is this? I said, no, it's really cool. But she was kind of uptight this is a pornographic movie.
Yeah. Taboo.
Because
God
forbid. I didn't tell her that. I didn't, I just, for some reason, I thought she wouldn't notice.
Yeah. Not smart. Not the smartest move.
Yeah, Mr. Smooth.
So how'd that go?
We went in, and it was in the afternoon. Yeah, I guess it was in the afternoon. I don't know what, but anyway, it was. And so there wasn't very many people in there. It was only guys in kind of raincoats or coats. I mean, it was a cliche. Mm-hmm. It was a cliche. It was like maybe 15 men, all separated. And we sat in the back. And the amazing thing was the reaction of the 15 men who were there.
Yes.
To see the pornographic movie.
Yeah.
And
this isn't what I paid for.
Because, they paid their money, and they were in, and then the screen was blank. In other words, I think this was the first showing. Mm-hmm. So there's no movie, there's nothing going on. It was just an empty theater and a blank screen. And then the movie started. Now ours was going to be the first movie. So, Solly's Diner. And you see they all sat up, getting ready. And then the first shot is of as a waitress. It takes place in a diner, empty diner.
Wow.
And there's this waitress, and they go, she's going to get fucked. Okay, great. This is the can I use that language?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
I mean, that was what was happening. That, so they sat up really straight. And then I come in. I'm this homeless guy. Oh, man, a homeless guy. And of course. Of course. And they're all ready. And then I'm sitting there and I'm ordering something and blah, blah, blah. And then another guy comes in. A threesome. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the narrative started. And
disappointment.
The bewilderment. When are they going to take their clothes off?
Yeah.
And 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes. The movie's over, and the puzzlement.
What is going on? This isn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, is the feature going to be the same way? I mean, have we been duped?
My gosh.
So it was a bust. I mean, look, it was a comedy, and they're looking for pornography, so they weren't laughing. They were just, come on, let's get the clothes off.
Yeah.
So it was a bust. I mean, it qualified.
Mm-hmm.
That was all Harry, the cinematographer. That's all he wanted to do was qualify.
Right.
I mean, but no, I was totally disappointed. My girlfriend.
So creative, though.
Because not only was it the grease pencil cut, it wasn't finished. I mean, it wasn't fully edited. And we used to edit it on a Steenbeck, the old things, those moviolas and a Steenbeck film.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? So you have grease pencil marks where to cut, and it wasn't color corrected. So even if it was hysterically funny in front of a really cool audience, they wouldn't have laughed anyway. I mean, it was just all marked up, and we just had to show it. That was all. So that's how we got in. It was a long story, but it was a weird trip.
That's a great story, though, and that shows when you talk about like tenacity. I mean, sometimes you just got to get really creative, and that's what makes the best stories and the best things to, those people love that stuff. So it's fantastic.
Yeah. Thank God Harry was there. Thank God Harry was there.
Definitely.
Because, we all try to figure it out, but finally somebody came up with a very unique solutions.
That's what it takes sometimes, It definitely. And you.
But okay. So here's the capper. This is how I think. Okay, so we got in and we qualified and blah blah blah. We got in and I had to buy my girlfriend a gown because I had to get a tuxedo. We weren't prepared. None of us. We were street people.
Yeah.
So we weren't prepared to go to an Academy Award, which blew my mind. We had to rent a limo.
Yeah.
I had to buy a tuxedo. Well, I rented one. Yes, I rented one. But I rented a beautiful gray one.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
But I had to buy her a dress.
Mm-hmm.
Not a very nice dress. She wouldn't go unless I don't have anything to wear.
Right.
So we got the whole thing. We went there, and they announced, and then we were going to announce the winner of the short film Academy Award nominated films. And when they announced, the winner was, I'll never forget her name. The producer of the film short was Sarah Pillsbury. She's a big producer now. She makes big movies. But then her film short, Sarah Pillsbury, I forgot the name of it, but it was two hydrocephalic a man and a woman. I don't know how old they were, maybe about 18, getting married. No, they were probably 25, getting married. So it was just a heartstring, heart thing,
right.
Hydrocephalic people getting married, and it won. And Sarah Pillsbury produced it. And when they announced the winner, I just want to go home. I mean, I came to win.
Right, right.
If I didn't win, why was I here?
Right. I feel that.
The ridiculousness of, again, trying to be as tenacious as Harry was. But, Harry took it in stride. He just wanted, what he wanted was a reel.
Right.
To be a cinematographer. He was a camera operator. My film was his first cinematographer. So yeah, so I mean, I'm looking back at it. I'm so surprised that my whole attitude going through the whole thing of just wonderment, puzzlement, bewilderment. What should I do next?
Mhm.
How does this work? That I got through with it with a little help from my friends. But still, that attitude of when they announced the winner, I just shut down. I mean, let's go. You wanna go?
Right, right, absolutely.
There was a whole evening, they wanted to go to the party. They wanted, everybody, my date, Harry, his date, his wife. I mean, just crazy. Just insane.
But that is so cool. I mean, and I love that you're saying like street people kind of stuff. You got your start in New York. You were born in New York, but you started in the Greenwich in the Village at open mics.
Yeah, and stand up. I was a stand up. Well, I graduated college as an industrial designer, but I just did that for my parents. I was a kid who wanted to please. I guess in a way that's why I became an actor on stage. I mean, you get pleasing the audience, it's the same thing. But so I went to college. I had no interest in college. I had no interest in doing anything, ever. Only until recently, in the last 5 years, have I had any interest in anything. And I'm talking about being an actor, which made money and paid my rent, but I had no interest in being an actor. It was,
really?
You got to do something to pay your rent.
Right.
So,
and it worked out.
Which is a strange thing to do, to try to be an actor to pay your rent. That's the worst job you can get to pay your rent.
Up and down.
Get anything.
The artist life.
The jobs are, and each time you get a huge payday, you have to use that payday for the rest of the year because you don't know when your next job is. So it's a spasmodic way of earning a living.
Yeah, no,
so
absolutely.
Graduated as an industrial designer, had nothing to do with it. I was an A student. I was offered a job designing cars in Detroit for General Motors, for future cars. They offered me an incredible amount of money. Incredible. $75,000. In 1979, that was a huge amount of money. No, but I had no interest, because I had no interest. I was just doing it for my parents. So it'd be like somebody offering you $75,000 to do something that you had no interest in doing, being a dog catcher.
Right, right.
Or digging ditches, and you go, no, wait a minute, I'd rather be, something in show business. So Carl Gottlieb, Carl Gottlieb?
Yes, yeah.
There's no reason you should be.
Yeah, no, I do.
He wrote Jaws.
Yes.
Right. So he was my best friend in college. Now, he didn't write Jaws then, and he was just a cool guy, very smart, man. So and we just hung around together, and then when I graduated, I didn't want to go to Detroit, and I didn't know what to do. So he said, why don't you go to Greenwich Village with me? We'll be roommates. And, you can look or do nothing. I mean, you got to pay half the rent. The rent was $150 a month.
Can't even.
A 5-floor walk-up, but it was $150 a month. Three very small, no, two small, two or three small, I think we had 2 bedrooms. And then a kitchenette, but it was very small, and no windows. It faced onto what do you call those things in the center? When you build a building around. So we faced a brick wall.
Yeah.
And of the others, they built the building around.
Yep.
And we faced that hole in the center. And across there, well, it wasn't even a window. There's a window over here and a window over here, but there was a blank wall.
Yeah.
So it was crazy, 5 floors. So he wanted to write, so he was reviewing movies, and I had nothing to do. I got a job in a bar from 2 a.m., closing time, until 6. And what was that? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
Bang. Wait a minute, I got to get rid of this.
Not sure.
Big. Okay, cool. That'll never happen again. I was working in this bar from 2 a.m. till 6 a.m. He was reviewing movies for these very neighborhoods newspapers. And newspapers you've never heard of,
Yeah.
The Mirror or the Statesman for blocks, But he was reviewing and writing and stuff, and I was cleaning duck boards and sweeping up peanut shells. I don't want to see another peanut shell.
You got to get started somewhere,
What?
You got to get started somewhere, you know?
Well, yeah. I kept on thinking, well, I could have been making some money, but no, I didn't want to go. Okay, so I was making that, but the deal was that I had my almost 24 hours, 20 hours free. I mean, you use some to sleep, but I was walking around during the daytime. I had nothing to do at night until 2 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to hang at the bar. I wasn't a bar guy.
Right.
So I would go to the coffee houses, you know, in Greenwich Village, and I would, and now in high school, I won funniest 2 years in a row,
Nice.
my junior and senior year, and I thought, so I was, you know, looking at these cheap Monday night open mic nights. I would go, and I just sit there with a cup of coffee until I had to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, you see these comedians. I think I'm funnier than that.
Yeah.
2 years in a row, man. I can do this.
You can
it's
say
only
it.
5 minutes. You only get 5 minutes.
Right.
So I'd get up there, and nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because I had an idea that if you're funny, but no, funny with your friends is not funny on stage.
Right.
People who want
A little bit different. Yes.
Yeah. So I was dying up there, and I have recordings to prove how bad I was. So, but now here's the thing about tenacity.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not tenacity with me. I think it's OCD.
Mm-hmm.
But I would just get up and I go, I can do it better next week. That was my mantra. I would come off the stage, I can do it better. Because in my mind it was, I was funny once.
Mm-hmm.
That was what my, you know, what was your driving mantra, Larry? I was funny once.
I was funny once. That's it.
Funny. I can do this. I can do this. I can. So I kept, and for weeks, and then just slowly, very slowly, I started to understand the mechanics of, and then it was so, okay, if you make the whole audience one person, your friend, it starts to work. I was just afraid of all these people.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't, so it's fear.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's how I became a stand-up comedian, and I'm a slow learner, but I have a very steep curve.
Yes.
So it was like, and after 6 months, I was opening for Woody Allen. So there you go.
What was that like?
It worked.
That had to be a magical time.
Well, yeah. I mean, because I was very getting 10 minutes, getting a hung.
Yeah.
Here's how showbiz starts, and I think this is just everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's first you want to be something, a stand-up comedian, an actor, whatever, a painter, anything.
Right.
That's not Norman Rockwellian, except to be a painter. So what you do is you start up and you're bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're learning and you're bad, and then you get a little better, and then you think you're really, hot shit.
Yeah.
So you start showing it to people,
mm-hmm.
and again you get shut down, and then very slowly you start to gain, and then, if you stick with it and you have OCD or you're tenacious,
mm-hmm.
you'll get there if you hang in there.
Right, and that's the
which
key.
Is, I guess, what I was doing.
That is such a key, what you just said, because there's so many people, they go, well, how do I do this? And it's like, it's consistency. It's, the ability to take rejections. It's the ability to, like you got to build.
Those are the two biggies.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are the two biggies.
Absolutely.
Consistency and ability to take rejection.
You got to have that thick skin. Yeah.
That took me a while. That was not being funny. It was taking the rejection. I tell you, I couldn't take it.
Yeah.
And here's the story. I was opening for Woody Allen, and then once I started opening for Woody Allen, I was, boom. I mean, I had Woody Allen's manager, so he had a lot of power because of Woody. So he could book me I was opening for Miles Davis and the Kingston Trio and Lovin' Spoonful, Ian and Sylvia. Big acts, arenas. I was doing arenas.
Yeah.
I was doing rock and roll. Blues projects, a lot of rock venues,
Mm-hmm.
which was cool because then I was starting to get to, Richie Pryor, sex, drugs, rock and roll, blah, 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 body parts. And they, in arenas, you have these wooden armrests on these, metal chairs and stuff,
Yeah.
wooden seats. And they have these wooden armrests. But you
Yeah.
can take those wooden armrests off if you knock them from the back. Boom. We would always do that in high school.
Yeah.
Well, this is an arena. This is college. I'm in the middle of my act. And all of a sudden, I started getting into sex, drugs, and rock and roll stuff. And they started booing, which was weird. This is
No.
a college. I thought that's the sweet spot for a stand-up.
Was it a Christian? Was it a Christian college?
No, it was just an ordinary, Washington University. I believe it was Washington University.
Wow.
So they started booing, and they started pulling these armrests off and throwing them at me. And I'm ducking. But the weird thing was, they were, as long as I kept doing the sex, drugs, and rock and roll stuff, they were booing and throwing stuff, and I did it for a little while, loving spoonfuls off in the wings. No, keep going. They wanted to riot.
Yeah.
That's what they want. They wanted to keep going. No, keep going. So the weird thing was, if I stopped, talked to them, because now I had, some stage presence. I knew what I was doing. So I go like this. I said, no, wait a minute. I thought you were college kids. I thought you were sex, drugs.
Thought you knew how to have fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they would stop and listen to me. They
Right.
would stop for that. They would listen. They go, oh yeah. So what are you doing? So they would be quiet, and I say, okay, cool. So then I would go into, all right. So now the breasts, and boom, get off the stage, and they would start throwing things at me.
Damn.
So finally, I said, okay. I said, I won't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stop. Okay, I'm going to do the clean stuff now. And they stopped. And then, so I started doing clean stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got a big laugh, I said, okay, now we can do the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And I started, and but the first 2 rows didn't have any more of these armrests.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get back there, it's too far to throw.
Yeah.
So I saw, because they now had turned on the lights, so I could see the whole auditorium. It's the guys in the back, no girls. No girls were throwing anything. The guys in the back couple of rows, were pulling off their armrests and passing them down to the guys in the front row. So I thought, that was ridiculous.
Wow.
I thought, wow, these guys are into it now.
Yeah.
They're organized. This is crazy.
Got a whole system.
Yeah. But at that point, I see cops marching down the side aisles, 10 on each side. Just a phalanx. I'm up on the stage, and they just grabbed me very nicely, because they were just, I looked at all their faces. They were just doing their job. There was no anger at all in these police. They didn't know why the hell they were even there. This is a rock and roll concert, and I'm just one guy up on stage.
Right.
Why were 20 police called for this one person, me?
Jeez.
So they took me off stage. They marched me off stage to a roar, oh, bring on 11 Spoonful. 11 Spoonful of booing the cops from upstairs. Boo, boo, boo. We got backstage. And so 18 cops left, and 2 cops stood on both sides of me. They weren't holding me. They, and we were just talking. Wow, that was really weird, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, I guess, who called you? Why did we hear? Oh, the dean called us. They said they had a filthy-mouthed comedian on the stage.
Wow.
Really? Holy cow. That's amazing. So we were like, just 3 people just talking. And finally, I said, why are you here? Why are you standing here? I'm not doing anything. He said, we have to stand here until, we have to guard you, is what they said. We have to guard you until the Lovin' Spoonful starts playing.
Did nobody think to tell you not to kind of censor your jokes a little bit, to tell cleaner jokes for that audience?
No, I mean, it was unheard of that a comedian would be dirty in a rock and roll show.
Yeah.
It wasn't being done. I mean,
totally.
It was Richie Pryor, George Carlin, and Lenny Bruce. That was it.
Right.
They were starting that, and then I was part of it. I fit in there, but I was like way back.
Yeah.
And I stopped. So they pulled me off, and we went to Northwestern next.
Mm-hmm.
And when we checked in, there was 6 of us. 4 loving spoonful, me, 7 of us,
Mhm.
and 2 managers for the loving spoonful, and I was just alone.
Wow.
And I had my manager, Jack Rollins, but he was in New York. They were here. They were traveling with Billy. So we went to Northwest. We checked in. We're going to the elevator, and 3 gentlemen, stepped between us and the elevators, and they said, "Is this the loving spoonful party?"
Right.
And that already wasn't cool.
Yeah.
We just knew this is not a good thing. So the managers immediately stepped between those 3 guys and us, you know, the band and the opening act. And he said, what is this about? The 3 men were all dressed appropriately. Was a captain of the police force in uniform with hat, a priest in full mufti with the white thing and everything, priest, and a gentleman in a suit and white hair. That was the dean of Northwestern University. And they said, what is this about? He said. And the dean stepped forward and said, is there a Larry Hankin in your party?
Oh, no. Yeah.
And they immediately just turned around. Well, the equivalent of, oh no, is they just turned around to us, backs to those 3 gentlemen, and they said, okay. And they said it very quietly. They said, okay, I want you gentlemen to go upstairs, go into his room. They didn't say my name. They said, go into his room, lock the door, stay there, and don't come out unless we knock on the door.
Wow.
Okay. So go. So we went, they turned back, so we went upstairs, and we're talking now and joking. You know, you got to do your act. You got to do your act. You know, because that's what the dean said to us. Well, when he said, you know, is there a Larry Hankin in your party? And he said, go upstairs. But before we went upstairs, the one of the managers said, why do you want to talk to Larry Hankin? And this is what we heard as we walked away.
Oh, no.
The dean of Washington University called and said, you have a filthy-mouthed comedian opening for you. The exact same.
My God. That's so crazy to me.
That's what they were kidding me about in the room. Well, you're a filthy-mouthed comedian. You got to do your act, man. I mean, they just so wanted a riot. It was incredible.
That's insane.
We were discussing it, and finally they came up and they said, okay, here's the deal. Okay, they don't want you to go on. That's a priority. You're not. You can't go on. We talked to them. So oh no, you got to go on. There's no. We talked to them, so we made a deal.
Right.
You can't go on. You have to do clean stuff. The first time you do anything untoward, say anything even blue or anything like that, they're turning off the mic. They're opening up the lights, and the concert is over.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. So, but that's what we were doing. That's what killed Lenny Bruce. I mean, gee, okay. So, the Lovin' Spoonful still wanted me to open with my opener and do it. Okay. So I decided to do it. I decided to do my act. I mean, you know, why? Okay. So I just got up on stage, and I let Larry Hankin. They didn't know who the hell I was. Yeah. Larry Hankin, and I talked. My opening is clean, you know, about 3 minutes clean. And then I started, and the act just went great.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Nothing, just like normally, like it should go.
Right.
Laugh all the way through. Nothing happened. Nobody. Nothing. And anyway, so go figure. And that, so that was the start. And then when I went to Jack's on the Highway, opening for the Kingston Trio.
Yeah.
It was nightclub, and you know the stage on a nightclub, it's only about that high.
Yep.
You know, the band could have the dance floor.
Yes.
You can't see in the black because dance floor and then lights are in your eyes. So I'm doing my act. You know, it was not many people in the place because it was snowing out. Not many people in the place. Okay, I opened up. I got a couple of laughs. You know, blah blah blah, and then I opened and I start going into Lenny and George, Carl, and that stuff. And I hear, "Get off the stage!" I hear from the darkness.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. I said, "Get off the stage."
Oh no! Who was it?
Blah, blah. I'm going on. It's one person. It's one person. Blah blah blah. And then I just see out of the darkness coming across the dance floor. Thank God it was a big dance floor. It's just Bohunk, like a lumberjack in a suit, and he's got a beer bottle upside down in his fist, and he's saying, I said, get the fuck off the stage and bring on the Kingston Trio.
Wow.
And I go, right. Whoop, I'm off.
Damn.
I just got off. So I called my manager, and I said, hey, man, this is not fun anymore. I mean, I got cops, I got people with beer bottles. I'm not in it for the money. I don't see the, so I quit. I just
Right.
quit.
That's wild.
That was it. That was my last performance. No, I mean, see, that's the tenaciousness,
Yeah.
the OCD. Pryor would have kept on going and did.
Mm-hmm.
Carlin did. Lenny did. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to have fun.
Yeah.
Making people laugh to me was fun.
Right.
I was more than paying my rent now but I said no. So I called my manager. I said, what am I going to do, man? I can't do this. It's not fun. I mean, Jack, do you have any suggestions? And he immediately said, join Second City. They're doing the exact same thing as Lenny and George and Richie, but they own the theater. A guy comes at you with a beer bottle, they throw him out, not you. So I said, great. I auditioned. with Robin Williams.
Nice.
City.
Yeah.
And I knew it was him. He wasn't Robin Williams then, but he had the white coveralls and the rainbow.
Yeah. Humble beginnings.
So he went to another. We both got in, but he went to a different show, and I went to back to St. Louis.
Yeah.
But we were a hit show then, and we were doing, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It was fine, and that's how you become an actor. So from there, you become an actor.
Yeah, Second City. What was the scene like back then? Just as a whole. God.
You mean the '60s? You mean?
Yeah. I mean, for you, what was your experience of it?
There's three parts to the '60s.
Mm-hmm.
I was more into the first part of the '60s, 60 to 62,
mm-hmm.
was just a bubbling up of Mario Savio and Berkeley and San Francisco and protests.
Yeah.
So it hadn't gotten into the zeitgeist yet. It was just, those crazy San Francisco people and blah, blah, blah. But Mario Savio started giving speeches on the steps of Berkeley University, and that started getting press. So then you got, and we had started in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
As a stand-up comedian, I auditioned for Second City, got it, was there from 60 to 61 in Chicago and St. Louis, back and forth. And then in 61, a group of us went to San Francisco to start our own Second City called the Committee.
Mm-hmm.
So that was in 61 and 62. So I was there when Mario Savio was on the steps and blah, 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 hearing him, and we had no crowds at all. We would just, the mantra was, don't quit your day job. None of us had day jobs. That was the mantra. Right. We were hoping this would work. So we all quit. So don't quit your day job. If there was more people on stage than in the audience, we didn't have to do a show.
Yeah.
So we were starving, but the director was tenacious, and he said, no, we're going. I mean, this will work. This will work. And then one day while we were rehearsing before the show, we hadn't been outside for, the show started at 8, box office opened at 6:30. We got there at 6, so we were rehearsing.
Mm-hmm.
Right before the show opened, I said to my best friend in the company at the time, Hamilton Camp, who was Gibson and Camp, the folk singers, and he wanted to be an actor, so he joined the company. He was great. I said, come on outside. I just saw something that's going to blow your mind. What? We go outside, and there was a line for the first time ever around the block, around a city block, not around the corner, around the block and coming back, so the first person in line could see the last person in line. That was amazing. That was the first time ever. We were, don't quit your day gig. More people on stage than in the audience we could quit. And then that happened. And from there on in, that was it. Lines around the corner at least. But around the back, and we walked the whole thing. I mean, we couldn't believe it. We walked all the way around the San Francisco city block, and say hello to everybody. Hey, you're gonna love the show. Blah blah blah.
Wow.
So that was the start of that. So that was the 62 to 64.
Mm-hmm.
Around 64, now we were a San Francisco, like, a stable, what do you call it? Tourist attraction.
Mm-hmm.
We were a tourist attraction. It was like Second City in Chicago. We
Right.
were exactly the same, and we even were communicating back and forth. That was from 62 to about 65, 66, and then the 60s started to get really dark. That's when the marijuana started to get into amphetamines and Dobermans.
Yeah.
The flower power turned to
Haight-Ashbury
Doberman
turned
power.
to yeah.
Haight-Ashbury turned
Yeah.
into and steal this book. So they start stealing.
Mm-hmm.
And so Haight-Ashbury turned in. Yeah, if you walked out at night, you had to have a Doberman,
Mm-hmm.
which was the German Shepherd of the 60s.
Yeah.
And that was really dark. And then heroin came in, and then the Hells Angels beat up everybody at Altamont, and then the 60s were fucked.
Crazy.
It was just over. So I was through that whole thing. I grew up. That was my high school.
Totally.
That was real high school.
So much
But
happened in that decade. It's crazy.
And then the 70s, the 60s disappeared, and now here's the 60s all over again with Trump and what was it, Oregon?
The whole thing.
Portland.
Yeah. It's just
and I hear there are reverberations of that, and I hear now, so it's same old.
yeah. It's crazy how history has a way of repeating itself, even though we've seen similar things in so many different areas of life. We've seen so many similar things happen, but yet haven't kind of learned from it, or
Well,
maybe
that's
in
what I
some
was
ways,
wondering. Have we learned anything?
Yeah, that's what I'm
I don't think so. I mean, I really don't, because the people who voted
Yeah.
in 2016,
Mm-hmm.
were, well, a lot of them weren't, but a lot of them were around in the 60s. I mean, they at least the end of the 60s. They're starting this. So I don't understand how they forget, or the new people.
It's wild.
I don't understand. I don't get it.
It's pretty crazy.
I am a commenter, as a stand-up comedian. You're commenting on what's going around.
Right.
So you're kind of seeing things. If they're laughing, that means you're seeing the truth in some way. That's why there's no Republican stand-up comedians of any worth. And I've heard, I listen to them because I listen to them all. And that's where my head is at.
Mm-hmm.
Is stand-up.
Yeah.
Is looking at stuff and mocking. I'm a mocker. I'm a born mocker. Is what I am. And I look to other mockers for strength and for a point of view.
Who were some of your comedic influences? Are you talking about, like, you listen to like other similar types?
Ricky Gervais and Bill Burr.
Oh yeah,
are at the top of the list.
Did you see? Did you see Ricky Gervais's his Golden Globe monologue?
Yeah, I mean, whatever he does, man, he doesn't.
I love it.
See, here's the thing: he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, and I love that.
He doesn't, but he's smart enough to have a backup for that. If you just don't give a fuck, you are effed.
Yeah.
Stop using it.
It's okay.
I mean, you can't. You can't just not care.
Right.
I mean, you cannot care about certain things.
It's a pick and choose.
Intelligence.
Right.
What?
It's a pick and choose. Yeah.
Well, no, I don't think it's a pick and choose. It's both. You have to have both. You can't have one or the other.
Oh yeah, no. Just like certain things to not be on board with and to be vocal about. It's like
yeah. So it's. I mean, but you see, okay. This is getting into. Well, maybe it's stand-up. I think that you are born with right and wrong.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
It's a given. Animals have a certain instinct. I'm going to fight you to have all these females, but I'm not going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a rule. I mean, they didn't talk about it.
Right.
They just said no.
It's like Fight Club.
Now, Yeah. Yeah. It's really me. But yeah, so I mean, and then the writer and the wrongest get hammered into you or stepped on into you. I mean, they they just it's hammered out of you or hammered into you, so you don't know which. I mean, it's just we're just watching a film. I like to watch Nova now. I'm hooked on Nova.
Nova,
Okay,
yeah.
so there's one thing where they say, last night I was watching The View from Above. That was the name of it, The View from Above. So they were just showing the satellite imagery, like the lenses and stuff, are so powerful now and so acute.
Yeah.
That they can pick out minuscule colors on the planet Earth. But what their premise was that colors mean life on a planet. Not, you got a red couch there, that doesn't mean life. But on a planet, on any, in the universe, if there's color, it 99% of the time, it means something of living is there. Color is the living sign.
That's what I like that. I like that. I've never thought about it that way. It's true.
Neither did I.
It's true.
So they had this camera going around Earth, close up, and it could go close up, like they see a dot of color, like green, in nothing but gray.
Right.
And so they could go down into it and see, oh my God, that's crops. There's something growing. That's green. Okay. So yeah, this is really weird.
That's cool.
So, but what they said they found, and that's why they do this, to see where there's no color, maybe a danger. They're not looking for color. I mean, they want to see color, but what they're looking for is places where there's no color, which means that, a city, civilization causes no color.
This concludes part 1 of our episode with actor Larry Hankin. Part 2 will be available next Friday. Until then, I'm your host, Kat Lively, and this has been Calling Old Hollywood. If you like what you hear, sign up to be a patron on Patreon or contact Calling Old Hollywood directly at callingoldhollywood@gmail.com to find out how you can become a VIP Facebook group member. Thank you.